Yo, what's up? My name's Patrouski. I've been playing PokeMMO for 11 years, and today I'm giving you guys my 10 tips that I'd recommend you doing on day one within your PokeMMO journey. Now, just because I consider all of these day one goals does not mean you may be able to complete all of them in the same day. Not everybody has the same amount of playtime or access to energy to jump into a game like PokeMMO. But hopefully some of these or all of these are helpful and help you get jump started in your PokeMMO journey. Number one would be catching 1x31 Pokemon. 1x31 Pokemon are simply Pokemon that look like this. This Pidgey is a really good example. It's got a green stat in its IV page. Whenever you catch a Pokemon, I always recommend checking over to its little DNA tab over to its IV page and seeing if it has any 31s. These 31s are almost always worth some value. Not always a ton, but sometimes it can be a decent amount. The reason why is because the breeding system in PokeMMO allows for the guaranteed consistent transfer of these IVs over to better Pokemon. So for example, let's say I have a 31 attack Pidgey, I can then breed that over to something like a Skarmory, a much more desired PvP Pokemon, which then gives this Pidgey inherent value. For example, this 31 attack IV Pidgey is 7,500 Pokeyen. When you're a new player, simply catching Pidgeys to make that amount of profit is pretty damn good. Now, your profits will definitely vary depending on what time you're catching those Pokemon, different time periods in the game, aka during event season, prior to event season, or maybe in the middle of the year around June or July is definitely going to impact how much those Pokemon cost. It really comes down to how many people are breeding those Pokemon at the time. So once you get more advanced into the game, it's good to understand what Pokemon specifically, what species are good to catch for profit, but as a new player, just try to catch some Pokemon and you'll get some 1x31s along the way. Number two is going to be catching some sort of catching Pokemon. This comes in a couple different forms depending on what region you're in within PokeMMO. For example, if you're in Kanto and doing your storyline run and you're passing through Mount Moon, I strongly encourage you to head down the ladder that gives you access to the Paris catching location, which should be this ladder right here. Is one of the first ladders you see within the cave itself, and I would run back and forth in here until you end up trying to find or catch yourself a Paris. Paris is a very good beginner catching Pokemon because it's really accessible, really easy to catch, really easy to find, and it's going to naturally learn all of the moves that we need. And on a catching Pokemon, the two moves that you generally need are Spore and False Swipe. You can do a couple different catching Pokemon. You can get a Shroomish if you're in the Hoenn region, for example. I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like to actually use this combination of moves to catch a Pokemon. Now, I can't Spore this Parasect because it is a grass type, so we're just going to ignore that and just Pokeball. But False Swipe is a move that is 40 base power normal type that's always going to hit that Pokemon down to 1 HP, guaranteeing it the highest catch rate possible. Alongside Spore, inducing Sleep drastically increases the catch rate of a wild Pokemon, so that's going to help you catch a Pokemon like this. And if you're lucky like myself, you might even get yourself a 2x31. As a day one Pokemon player, if you can get yourself one 2x31, that is extremely lucky. This happens around 1 out of 78, I believe, or so Pokemon, whereas 1x31s are around 1 out of 5 or 6, so it's much more common. If you get this on day one, then you are in some good shmoney. For example, I can show you live. This Paris would go ahead and I would sell it like this. I would check the egg group. I would check the special attack. If you're looking to sell your 1x31 or 2x31 Pokemon, I recommend checking out my ultimate price checking guide, which is another video I have on this channel. And unfortunately, honestly, it's not worth as much as I expected, around 10k to 14k. But if you're a beginner, that is some really nice starting Pokeyen. And honestly, you might just want to keep this Paris. If I was a new player, I'd probably just hang on to this and use it as a catching Pokemon. Just to recap, some examples of catching Pokemon include Paris, Shroomish, or Butterfree. Butterfree is really underrated, but you do have to get Sleep Powder and Compound Eyes, so make sure if you go for that Butterfree, you have to have the Compound Eyes ability. Next up, another Pokemon that I recommend you catching. We're just using Kanto for all of our examples here because I'm pretty well versed in the Kanto region. I'm going to be heading to the northwest of Cerulean, and we're looking for an Abra here. I really recommend catching a Teleport Pokemon. Teleport is a very powerful ability that can be used outside of battle to teleport yourself back to a PC. This can be used if you're really close to death or in like a really weird sticky situation, or just save time during your storyline run. So looking for either an Abra if you're in the Kanto region, a Ralts if you're in, I believe, Hoenn, Muna if you're in Unova, etc. And you know what? While I was sitting here looking for an Abra, which is my number 3, catching yourself a teleport Pokemon, I also have written down for my number 8 that I recommend you catching a Payday Pokemon, which you can actually do at the same time at this location. So we're going to jump around a little bit. This is technically my number 8, but we're just going to weave it in here. A Meowth is a Pokemon that has Payday pickup especially, which is really nice to get some extra Pokeyen during a storyline run. So I really recommend going and picking up a Meowth of some sort. Anything that isn't minus attack nature is probably what you want to look for. Yeah, I even got a Quick Claw on mine, which is once again pretty lucky. A 31. Once again, getting really lucky today on my catches for whatever reason. This would even sell for some nice Pokeyen, but the reason Payday is so nice is because it gives you a little bit of extra Pokeyen. If you Payday a level 10 Pokemon, you would get 100 Pokeyen at the end of the battle. If you Paydayed a level 50 Pokemon, you would get 500 Pokeyen at the end of the battle, etc., etc. So it really is a nice way to earn some Pokeyen. This even has the pickup ability, which is super lucky as well. It's a 50-50 chance on that. You do want to specifically, I will say, keep your Meowth a Persian. If you want to, or sorry, keep your Meowth a Meowth. Don't let it evolve into a Persian. If you want to let it evolve into a Persian to help with your storyline run, sure. But if you want to ever keep that Meowth to be a Payday pickup Pokemon, you actually want to keep it a Meowth. Payday pickup is a sort of a intermediate or beginner money-making strategy, so you can kind of prepare that for the future. I will say the reason why is because Meowth keeps the pickup ability, whereas Persian turns it into Limber. So you actually lose the pickup ability on Persian, where 50 to 60% of your profits when you do Payday pickupping is from the pickup ability, picking up various items like super potions, rare candies, comet shards, nuggets, etc. And honestly, hilariously, we can also talk about number 4. This section of the video is going to be 3, 4, and 8. So apologies for the confusion. I probably could have structured this a little bit better, so apologies for that. But number 4 is going to be catch any starter Pokemon that you want. I think catching the starter Pokemon are one of the most fun things in PokeMMO. So you can actually head over to any Pokemart in the early game and find these things called lures. And essentially, these lures are going to give you the chance to catch lure encounter Pokemon. So if we head back to that location that I was at, where I was encountering for Abra and Meowths for my teleport Pokemon and my Payday Pokemon, this patch might be one of the most important patches in the game in PokeMMO for like beginner players. I would go ahead and I would pop one of these lures. They do cost 600 Pokeyen a piece, but at this location, this lure is going to give me, I believe, a 10% chance to encounter a Squirtle, which is really cool. So you'll be able to encounter a Squirtle here. You can catch a Bulbasaur in Viridian Forest, and I believe a Charmander over at right before Mount Moon. I believe it's over at Route 3 for a Charmander. Now, the starter Pokemon do have a pretty difficult catch rate, so I recommend trying to have the best Pokeball you can, whether that's Pokeballs or Great Balls. You can always come back and catch these Pokemon as well. And also, try to have a catching Pokemon if possible prior to catching these Pokemon. It'll make it a lot easier. Keep in mind, once again, Bulbasaur, you cannot spore it since it is grass type, so you will have, that'll be a much more difficult catch. But I think one of the coolest parts of PokeMMO is that you can pick your starter, being Bulbasaur, and then go catch Charmander and Squirtle along the way. And if you want to, and this is the same with every single region you can do this in, you could play through each region if you wanted to with all 3 starters, which I think is something that a lot of us wanted to do as kids. It is going to cost a little bit of Pokeyen in lures, and it's something you really want to, watch carefully. There's our Abra encounter. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I would go ahead and catch this. You can go get a Diglett to get Arena Trap to prevent it from teleporting, because it will try to teleport. But normally, what I would do if I were a new player is I would either have a Butterfree with Compound Eyes or a Paris with Spore, or a Shroomish or whatever, and I would go ahead and throw up the Spore and just let it go to sleep. And then I would just throw a Pokeball or a Great Ball if I had one at this point. Spore plus Great Ball is going to give you a really good chance of catching. Pokeball might be a little bit rougher. If the Abra wakes up and teleports, it is okay. I'd recommend just keep going until you encounter a new Abra. I think this strat is more time efficient than going and getting that Arena Trap Pokemon just to guarantee the catch. I think just getting this Teleport Pokemon is nice. Now, Teleport is a move you can go ahead and Keybind. I have a Teleport Ocarina on my 4 slot, but I can show you if you press the star, you can Keybind it, and then you can then press your teleport key and it'll send you directly back to the PC. This helps a ton when you're grinding for XP, doing like the Nugget Bridge, doing anything. If you have to make a long trek from one city to another, just make sure not to mistakenly teleport at the wrong time. Something I once did, this is a mistake you can avoid, is I went through all of Rock Tunnel. I got my flash, I traversed all the way through Rock Tunnel, and then when I got to the outside, I made it all the way to the outside, outside of the cave, up here, and I popped teleport right here. And what teleport does is it sends you back to the last PC you were at. So I popped teleport here, thinking it would send me to Lavender Town to go heal and be a little bit faster. But instead, it actually teleported me all the way back. I can probably show you here. all the way back to Cerulean City, because that was the last city that I was at. That was devastating. You don't want to do that. So make sure to go check each PC first, and it will teleport you back to the last PC that you were at. All right, and there we go. There's my Squirtle encounter. It might take you a fair amount of lures sometimes. There is a bit of RNG involved with this, but you can get Squirtle when popping lures over at Route 24 in Cerulean. You literally cannot get Squirtle if you're not popping lures, or any of the starters for that matter. So make sure if you want to go for those starter encounters, you have to be popping lures, and they do cost a bit of Pokeyen, especially when you're new. When you're new, that 600 Pokeyen is going to cost you a bit. And make sure you have enough Pokeballs to catch these guys. They are tough, and I really strongly encourage a catching Pokemon. These guys have pretty tough catch rates. You got to keep it in mind. Being able to use every single starter Pokemon in the storyline is definitely a privilege, not a right, and it can be difficult to earn that. So keep that in mind. It's definitely a challenge that is worthy of achieving, in my opinion. For reference, this Squirtle took me 3 Pokeballs at 1 HP and while spored. It might be more than that on average, so just keep that in mind. Which brings us into number 5. Buy Pokeballs. Make sure you always buy Pokeballs. As a new player, one of the best things you can dump your Pokeyen into is Pokeballs. Catching Pokemon is just so good for many reasons. You need a lot of utility Pokemon as a new player, like those teleport Pokemon, like those catching Pokemon that we've already talked about, as well as you never, ever want to be ballless in case you run into a shiny. That is just the worst possible thing that could happen, is getting that 1 out of 30,000 shiny rate in PokeMMO, hitting that rate, and then not having enough Pokeballs to catch it. I've seen it happen too many times. The number one thing you want to be buying as a new player is Pokeballs. It helps you earn more Pokeyen, it helps you catch useful, productive Pokemon for your account, and it helps you never miss out on a shiny. And then number 6 is going to be rushing for gym badges. Rushing for gym badges in PokeMMO is super important for a couple of reasons. Number 1, it's going to raise your max obedience level, which is super nice. Your max obedience level is a level that is the maximum level that you can use Pokemon at while beating a storyline, and it's tied to how many gym badges you have completed. I believe in Kanto, the 4th gym badge is Erica, which is a massive sort of hurdle for a lot of players. You end up doing Brock and Pewter, Misty over in Cerulean, and then you end up heading over to Erica for number 3 or 4. But yeah, you do Lieutenant Surge for number 3, and then over to Celadon for number 4, which is going to be Erica, which is a tough grass gym leader. She can be really easy if you have the right team built for her, but really tough if you either locked in Blastoise or Venusaur for her fight. But getting gym badges is super important because that's when you unlock the ability to use the GTL, aka the Global Trade Link, the Grand Exchange, the Marketplace, whatever you want to call it in PokeMMO. And PokeMMO is first and foremost an MMO. It's not just a Pokemon game, right? You have to understand that. You have to play this game like an MMO. You have to adapt to it like an MMO. You have to make Pokeyen, or if you want to continue long-term in this game, obviously you could just play this game like a Pokemon game, play the 5 storylines for nostalgia, and then quit and move on, which is totally awesome, super based. I respect it. But if you want to play this game long term, it's an MMO. You have to keep that in mind. A lot of people ask me, hey, what's the best way to get this item? What's the best way to get this Pokemon? The answer is always to buy it. Pokeyen is power. Yen is power. Money is power. Money saves time. It saves resources. It saves energy. It saves stress. Pokeyen is power in PokeMMO, and using the GTL to buy the Pokemon you need. If you're stuck at a certain gym, post the 4th gym badge in your first region, then you can go buy a Pokemon off the GTL for very cheap. Let's say I'm stuck at like a grass type gym, right? Post maybe like a different region, like not Erica, right? Let's say I'm stuck at a grass type gym. I could go look up a special attacking Pokemon. I would do like Modest Nature. I would search for some sort of fire type, try to find the cheapest fire type possible. Maybe I search for a specific fire type, something like Charmander, something like, let's do something cheaper like Rapidash or Ponyta. Let's say I need something around a specific level. I can look for, okay, let's say I need a level 31 Pokemon to help me beat this specific gym leader. Let's go like a Rash Nature, something a bit cheaper. I could buy this Rapidash. Let's do max level 32. Let's do lowest level 30. You would look for some sort of fire type Pokemon. Let's say Charmander, Charizard. Sorry, I'm having bad examples here at the moment. Let's say Arcanine, Growlithe, something like that. Let's see if you could find something like that for cheap on the GTL that helps with the storyline. Nope. Okay, you would just go through the list of Pokemon, find some sort of fire type. Cyndaquil perhaps would be decent. Nope, of course not. You would just keep going. You would find some sort of fire type that you would use. Let's scroll down a bit. Camerupt perhaps. Maybe Chimchar. Chimchars can be a bit expensive though, so it's a bit rough. Not finding any good examples for this, but essentially what you would do is look for some sort of Pokemon. It's going to help you. Let's do a Magmar/Magmortar possibly. There's a Magmar. There we go. Magmar, 7,500 Pokeyen. Like this guy, yeah, this is perfect. This would tear up tear up a grass type gym leader, 20 plus special attack, 20 plus speed, rash nature, exactly what you want to look for. You want to abuse that sort of power to buy the exact Pokemon, the exact level, the exact typing, whatever you may need to get through a certain storyline part. Next up, number 7 is going to be get yourself a Sweet Scent Pokemon. They are super important for a couple different reasons in PokeMMO, because Sweet Scent is the main way that we XP train. It's the main way that we EV train. It's the main way that we shiny hunt. It's the main way that we do so many things within PokeMMO. And I'll go ahead and show you a quick example. If I head over to Fuchsia City and then head over to the east, and I make sure to have my Sweet Scent key bounds to the top right hotkey bar, somewhere wherever you want. I have it on my 3 key bar, for example. I do recommend going ahead and PP maxing your Sweet Scent whenever you can afford it. It costs around 20k or so for a PP max. It's not super expensive, 18k or so. It's a bit for a new player. It's definitely an investment. I'm not going to lie. That is an investment for a new player, 18k. That is not a small amount of Pokeyen for a brand new day 1 player. But you want to go ahead and pop your Sweet Scent, and what it's going to do at certain locations, it's not going to work everywhere, at every patch of grass, at every patch of water, but at certain locations, it'll give you ×3 horde encounters, ×5 horde encounters, and if I were to surf down these Nidorino during the storyline run, it would give me attack EVs, help me EV train my Pokemon, as well as giving me really solid XP. This is some of the best XP training in the game, is by smashing down, AoE attacking hordes of Pokemon. Surf is probably the easiest AoE attacking move, which AoE is area of effect. It's a move that hits all of the Pokemon on the field, not just, you know, a single target. So you could say, you could also just shiny hunt. Nidoking / Nidorino is a really nice blue shiny. It's a great beginner shiny hunt right here to the east of Fuchsia, as well as XP training, EV training. It does the whole works. Sweet Scent is probably the single most powerful move in all of PokeMMO, and you're always going to use a PP max Sweet Scent Pokemon until the end of time. Some examples of some easy Sweet Scent Pokemon to go ahead and get during this one, things like Oddish. Oddish naturally learns the move Sweet Scent at level 8, so you can pick that up super early. You can also do Bellsprout in Kanto, for example. Most grass types end up learning Sweet Scent, a lot of them at least at some point or another, so just look through the Pokedex. You can always check. The beautiful thing about the Pokedex in Pokemon is you can check the actual move list and see what the Pokemon learn. That's another tip that I didn't include in the script, but if you want more information as a new player, check out the Pokedex. The Pokedex is a fantastic way to learn about Pokemon, learn about PokeMMO, learn about where to catch them, if you have them entered in your Pokedex, etc., etc. And trying to fill out your Pokedex is another fantastic tip to try to do day 1 in PokeMMO. And we already mentioned number 8, which was catching Payday Pokemon, so we're going to move on to number 9, which is battling all trainers. This is probably the number 1 tip that I give to people who are stuck in the storyline in the current day and age, is if you are stuck in the storyline, go rebattle trainers. If you see these little exclamation marks over trainers, that means you can actually rebattle them. That means it's been 6 hours since the last time you battled them, but you want to make sure to battle all trainers, because trainers actually give you more XP than wild farming wild Pokemon. Now, obviously, this is a rebattle, so this is much, much higher level, but yours won't look like this. Level 51 is way too high. Obviously, it's scaling to my Pokemon levels, but battling trainers is going to give you way more XP because you get a trainer boost, XP boost when fighting trainers. So you get more XP from fighting trainers, as well as the extra Pokeyen is nice. Even if it's 400 Pokeyen, 600, if you're lucky 1 to 2k, you can get up to like 9k from a trainer at certain points, but that's much more endgame, I would say. But as a new player, you can get like 1 to 2k Pokeyen per trainer, and that's really good. That really, really adds up. You're XP training, you're making Pokeyen, you're making progress. The number 1 thing that I see from people who are stuck in the PokeMMO storyline are people who don't have their Pokemon max leveled up to their max obedience level, and they have to go back and refight trainers, where they skipped a bunch of trainers, and that's why they're so underleveled. And that's what we did growing up. Growing up, you would skip every single trainer. During speedruns, you would skip every single trainer. But in PokeMMO, the difficulty is difficult enough where you do want to battle every single trainer during the storyline, in my opinion. It'll really pay off in the end. And then tip number 10 is probably the most important one on this whole list, and it's to have fun. I often give a ton of efficiency-based tips and advice and tricks on this channel, but all of that is meaningless if you aren't enjoying the game. The videos I make are meant to make your time in PokeMMO more enjoyable, so make sure to play your favorite region first, even if it's Sinnoh. Yes, I know, cringe. Pick your favorite starter, even if that means it's Chikorita. Gross, I know. Or add an extra challenge by attempting a Nuzlocke or a Monotype run to spice things up during your PokeMMO adventure. Do whatever makes PokeMMO the most fun for you. That is the most important thing at the end of the day. Thanks for watching. And before I go, I do want to quickly ask you guys to like the video if you enjoyed it. It means the world on topics like this and projects like this. Dislike it if you didn't enjoy it or it wasn't as helpful as you would have liked it to be. That's totally okay. I want your genuine feedback. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more PokeMMO guides and daily videos. I upload every single day, something new and exciting about this game, something going on, or just some grinding tips, tricks, XP training, etc., etc. I stream also 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, on Twitch and on YouTube if you want to watch on whichever platform you prefer. Discord is linked down below if you want to join a really cool community. And if you want to go above and beyond and support my channel, if my tips and tricks have helped your PokeMMO journey enough and you can afford it, very, very important, YouTube memberships, Twitch Primes, Twitch subs, and PayPal/Venmo donations do go an extremely long way. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys later. Peace, Reno. Hey, what's up? Patrouski here, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching until the very end of the video. That means the world to me, and if your name is listed here, that means you went above and beyond and supported the channel financially, which allows me to even be here and have the time to do this. So thank you so very much.